The recent death of Queen Elizabeth II brought about several changes to England, not the least of which being that her son Charles has now taken her place on the throne as King Charles III. Like the rest of the nation, Charles is in mourning. However, unlike the rest of the nation, Charles is dealing with the added pressure of being the country's new monarch. After a recent meltdown involving a leaky pen, it's becoming increasingly obvious that the new king is having a hard time with the transition. Join FactsVerse UK as King Charles III faces severe challenges in his first days as a monarch. Is King Charles III ready to be England's new monarch? For his entire life, King Charles III has been preparing for the opportunity to take his late mother's place as the monarch of England. Now that the event has finally occurred, following Queen Elizabeth II's death on September 8, 2022, it seems that 7 decades of preparation weren't enough. Charles is now 73, and he's having a hard time transitioning into his new role as England's monarch. The struggle that Charles is having is no more evident than in the recent series of public appearances that saw the monarch stressing out over pens. King Charles III has made multiple public appearances since his mother's death, including making the speech where he pronounced his new title. During that inaugural speech, he performed some other actions, including naming his son William his successor as the Prince of Wales. He also extended the country's royal period of mourning, which is a period of mourning observed by and for royal figures. Though King Charles III has been preparing to take his mother's place for 73 years, his difficulty in making this new transition became all too apparent to onlookers when the new monarch was caught on camera chastising one of his aides for the placement of a box of pens. It seems the box was in the way of the new monarch signing a very large and exceptionally royal-looking document. Charles treated the aide tasked with moving the box with no mercy, and a subsequent incident at another public appearance made it clear that he has a history of issues involving these pens. The public meltdown saw him exclaiming that the pens he's given when signing royal documents are always leaking. Camilla agreed her husband's pen was leaky. Upon King Charles's pen-related meltdown, his wife was quick to defend him by agreeing that the pen was leaking significantly. His wife, Camilla, is now going by the title of the Queen Consort of the United Kingdom. Camilla was standing by her husband's side when the event occurred, and she seemed similarly distressed by the amount of ink coming out of his pen. Though leaky pens can certainly be frustrating, much of the public was quick to chastise the new monarch for his meltdown. These are undeniably dark times for the royal family, but they've been preparing for this for years. The late Queen's failing health had been known for some time before her recent passing, and it's been known for many decades that Charles would be the one to eventually take her place. While King Charles has certainly faced his share of criticism, most have simply laughed off the new monarch's public meltdown involving pens. It can certainly be considered comical in the right light, but there's a dark side to it, and it calls into question just how well he's handling the death of his mother. Charles's prolonging of the royal period of mourning is another thing that calls into question how well he's doing. Even though Charles has been preparing to take on his late mother's place on the throne, there's really nothing that can prepare a person for the reality of what it's going to be like, especially when that reality involves the death of a beloved maternal figure. The country is mourning the loss of the Queen. King Charles certainly isn't alone in his mourning of his late mother. Queen Elizabeth II had been a beloved figurehead for the country of England for decades, and many are uncertain of what life will look like without her. She reigned on the throne for so long, there are many in England who have spent their whole lives with the beloved figure as their monarch. The devastating impact of the Queen's death could be seen clearly on social media, where users were posting in droves for days after the fallen monarch's death with fond memories of her and well-wishings for the surviving royal family. One of the many figures who took to social media to pay their respects was John Lydon, better known as his stage name Johnny Rotten. John is famous for being the lead singer of the seminal punk rock group the Sex Pistols. Of course, one of the punk band's most well-known songs saw them disparaging Queen Elizabeth II. In fact, the song even went so far as to exclaim that the Queen wasn't a human being. In the many years since that song's 1977 release, it seems John has taken on a significantly different view of England's late fallen monarch. Though he still claims that he politically identifies as an anarchist and has no room for England's politics in general, he says that the Queen was just a nice lady who didn't deserve any blame for the way the world is. There's also the possibility that the punk singer had simply been brainwashed over the years by overexposure to the late royal figure's image. For decades, the Queen was the face of England, and her visage can be seen on the country's stamps and money. Following her death, an announcement was made that all stamps featuring the Queen are still going to be accepted. Will King Charles be as beloved as his mother? For the most part, it seems that everyone agrees that Queen Elizabeth II died a beloved royal figure. Prince Charles dedicated much of his inaugural speech to his mother, claiming she was a great inspiration. Hopefully, he will overcome this momentary dark period and make a successful transition to the throne. The Queen certainly left behind some tough shoes to fill, and it remains to be seen just how well her son can match her iconic public presence. As John Lydon showed us, the Queen's charm was so great she could win you over even if you didn't agree with her politics. Much of this charm undeniably came from her maternal appearance, which the new monarch is going to have no chance of matching. The late Queen's charm was also aided by her strong and persistent faith, which she took no shame in publicly showcasing at every opportunity. Younger generations may take for granted the fact that the late Queen was such a publicly religious figure. Queen Elizabeth was a vocal Christian, which isn't something very common in the world of English politics. The Queen wasn't always so vocal about her faith, and many point to the turn of the millennium as being when she started preaching more and more about her belief in Jesus. While these public displays of religious faith likely didn't do much to persuade the increasingly atheistic nation of England, there was a universal charm to the Queen's religious ramblings nonetheless. Her faith was just another part of what made the royal figure so unprecedentedly endearing, and it's also another aspect of the former monarch's appeal that her replacement is going to have a hard time replicating. Though the late Queen instilled her stringent faith in her children, Prince Charles seemed as if he intends to bring some of his mother's unique religiosity back out of English politics. It appears the new monarch wants to appeal to his people on different grounds, claiming he wants to be a leader with more intellectual and humanist values. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know that King Charles III recently had a public meltdown over a leaky pen? Let us know in the comments section below.